First of all, my sympathies. I don't know how to offer sympathies to someone who has lost 100 relatives.
And sometimes I feel that they're the one who are holding me up, not me trying to hold them up. They tell me, come on, you should be happy for us that Allah have chosen us for this.
And by the way, her cousin, who she just described, would not be in the quote unquote official death count. But, so how many people are dying from diseases or malnutrition, starvation, that don't make it into that figure of 65,000, which, as you said in the beginning.
And I was heartbroken that I was looking around. I was very happy with everybody who showed up, don't get me wrong. But I thought I felt like if we back them up, then things would even sound better, would be better.
We're filing a historic international legal complaint against the U.S. government with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, the official body in the Americas to adjudicate abuses of human rights by governments within the Western Hemisphere.
Yes, the limelight have been dimmed over the starvation, so people can continue doing what they're doing, and we see it in our media.
Mm-hmm. Seth, what do you think about media? Is media playing some dirty game here?
Most definitely.
Salam and peace. This is Abdul Malik Mujahid, and welcome to Mujahid Talks at Muslim Network TV. Just yesterday, like every day, every night, we hear the news. So today, Israel has killed 44 people in Gaza. There has not been a single day when in last 2.5 years when they have not killed a Palestinian. Total killed, according to official count, which is essentially an undercount, is 65,000 Palestinians killed in Gaza. But unofficially, different scholars and researchers published and writing in the leading journals are saying it may be close to 150 to 350,000 people. Who cares? That's the question. Right now, at this moment, people who care, people from 44 countries on 50 or so ship and sailboats are moving to Gaza, trying to open the blockade. They got food supplies with them. There are plenty of food supplies. United Nations says they have enough to feed all Palestinians for 3 months. But Israel is not letting those in. Actually, yesterday they killed several people who were standing in food line. Food line has become the new killing field in Gaza. They force them in a tunnel situation and just kill them. Just kill them. So these people who care are moving forward. And interesting enough, we have government of Spain and Italy. They are sending their naval ships to guard and protect. That's a new step in terms of the world community who is sitting in General Assembly in Washington, in New York, and giving speeches after speeches, soft speeches, wrong speeches, big speeches, hour-long speeches. Speeches cannot stop genocide. Genocide treaty asks governments who have signed, and 143 countries, if I remember correctly, or is it 145 countries have signed the genocide treaty to prevent and punish genocide. People are debating whether it's genocide or not. Almost everybody agrees, except America and Israel. So we are Americans sitting in America and talking about Palestine. I have two guests, extraordinary. Hadil El Wahidy, a Palestinian-American who have lost more than 100 family members in Gaza. This genocide is not leaving anyone alone. Everyone around us has a story. And with me is also Seth Donnelly, who is co-founder of Taxpayers Against Genocide. Welcome to Muslim Network Television.
Thank you so much.
Hadil, let me ask you first. First of all, my sympathies. I don't know how to offer sympathies to someone who has lost 100 relatives. Numbers, 100 relatives, 65,000 people dead. Tell us about somebody who was really close to you.
I mean, all of them are close because who passed, are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know that, but who are living are also suffering. So we recently lost my first cousin, who's the oldest out of all the cousins. His name is Akram. Akram, 8 to 10 months before October 7th, he had retired and moved from Saudi Arabia to Gaza. He was an engineer, a poet, a predominant figure in our family, and we come from a tribe. And he came into Gaza and bought homes, furnished them, and was happy just to retire and be there. Then 10 months later, October 7th happened. And as much as I begged them to leave Gaza and to register with Egypt, because only few of my family members were able to leave, but they had to pay $5,000 a head in order for them to leave. So I kept begging him and my cousin, and I say, please leave, please leave, please leave. And he said, I lived in the ghurba, all my life, and I just wanted to be back home and just retire among my siblings. So 10 days before the close of the Rafah border, he says, okay, fine, I really can't do it, because he was getting tired, he was getting sick. We registered him in that company, and then they closed the border 10 days afterwards, so he was not able to escape. 3 weeks ago, because of the living circumstances, he fell. He needed a surgery. He went in to get the surgery, but he never came back the same. He was not allowed to move for 45 days due to the surgery that he had. But then they asked them to evacuate. He went into the hospital. Then after that, and I guess because of the poor condition of the hospitals, he got pneumonia, and he ended up, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, passing.
Our sympathies. How are his sibling and his relatives? Were they able to be with Akram when he left?
I mean, his sister, may Allah reward her, took care of him the whole time. But because everyone is so displaced in different areas, not everyone was able to be there. They wanted to. But subhanAllah, Allah gives them that strong iman and to accept anything that goes their way. And they tell us, they tell me all the time, sometimes I feel that they're the one who are holding me up, not me trying to hold them up. They tell me, come on, you should be happy for us that Allah have chosen us for this. And mind you, all of them they don't know what weapons are. They don't know, all of them, they're either doctors, engineers, or deans of pharmacy school. I have also my cousin, lawyers. So they're in the civic service. They're the ones who used to leave, Gaza, go get their degrees from London, from Russia, from America, and just come back. And now
Palestinians are one of the most educated, highly educated people in the world. I mean, they are not, the stereotypical image which Israel like to present. None of that is true. Highly educated people. Tell me how your family members at this moment are able to feed themselves during this blockade.
Honestly, there's famine. Anyone who has someone who lives, outside is able maybe to send them a little bit of money from some countries. Of course, not from here, because here, if you try to do that, they'll close your bank account immediately. Because I had nephews. I hosted also a nephew from Gaza over here, but he had to flee for his fear. He was third year medical school, and now he's in Malaysia. he finishing his medical degree. So, you know, these people who are living in Malaysia or some of these countries or Oman are able to help and send little bit of money of whatever anybody is able to collect, you know, from family members. But again, even if you have money, that doesn't mean that the supply is there and the prices are ridiculous.
Sid, tell me this. You know, our government is supposed to, who is signatory to genocide treaty, is supposed to prevent and punish genocide. They don't even admit it's a genocide. So in this situation, Hadil is saying that it is difficult even to send money from here. They close your bank account. Well, tell us, are Americans doing enough? I mean, majority of Americans at this moment are sympathizing with Jews, even sympathizing with Palestinian, even majority of young Jewish people are also sympathizing with the Palestinian. But are we doing enough in our country to force our government to change its mind?
Well, the simple answer and the true answer is no. And you know, right after World War II, they had the Nuremberg trials establishing the Nuremberg principles when the Nazis, some of the Nazis and the Japanese war criminals were put on trial. And the Nuremberg principles established not just that governments have a duty to stand up and prevent genocide, like we see the Yemeni government doing, but also ordinary people do. And in the United States, which is really the driving force of the genocide, we know that what's happening to Hadil's family. And by the way, her cousin, who she just described, would not be in the quote unquote official death count. But, you know, so how many people are dying from diseases or malnutrition, starvation, that don't make it into that figure of 65,000, which, as you said in the beginning, Malik, is very, very low. So,
yeah, I mean, you're correct. I mean, the hospital condition, which Hadil mentioned and you brought up also. Yesterday, I was reading a story. A journalist in her blog from Palestine, of course, sending a blog, she has to walk quite a bit to find some spot somewhere. She says that her daughter, who was playing, got injured by a little bit of bomb. And the main hospital said that, sorry, we do not have any bandages. So go find bandages so we can put on. That's the condition of hospitals right now.
Right. And so when we exactly, and when we look at the fact that hundreds of thousands of people have been killed directly through violent bombing and indirectly through starvation and the blockade and preventable diseases and so forth, this is really being driven by the U.S. taxpayer. And so the Nuremberg principles establish that it's up to us, those of us that are complicit in this, to organize ourselves and stop it. And that's where Taxpayers Against Genocide comes in. We recognize the U.S. government not only is failing to stop it, but is driving it in every way possible. The vast majority of weapons, the vast majority of military aid, the consistent use of the veto power in the Security Council, and so many other ways. So it's up to us, the ordinary folks, those of us who are Palestinian-American, like Hadil, those of us who are not like myself, but we have to unite and organize and hold the U.S. government to account. And that's what we're doing with Taxpayers Against Genocide, where we have thousands of people across the country organizing.
So when they organize, what they're supposed to do, being a taxpayer, I mean, taxes are taken out day in and day out. How do we organize?
That's the question, right? Some of us are in a position where we are able, where members in TAG individually can participate in tax resistance, like war tax resistance, like not paying taxes. But not everybody can do that. They have their families. They can't afford to have the potential disruption in their lives. But what we can all do is we can use our collective power, because the whole country runs on our money, right? To organize and demand for the U.S. government to ultimately be criminally prosecuted for its involvement. And that again goes back to the Nuremberg principles, that if we don't ultimately prosecute and punish people who've carried out genocide, it will continue. My whole life, I'm in my mid-50s, I've seen the U.S. government invade Iraq twice, resulting in hundreds of thousands of deaths. I've seen the U.S. government involved in the slow motion genocide that's happening right now in Haiti. So until we actually deal with the fact that we're in the belly of the beast and demand prosecution, what does that look like? Well, a first step, and it's not enough, but a first step is what Hadil and I and others in TAG are doing. We're working with the amazing attorney Huwaida Araf, who's now off for the flotilla again. She's one of the founders of the flotilla movement, and I believe she's on your program just recently. We're filing a historic international legal complaint against the U.S. government with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, the official body in the Americas to adjudicate abuses of human rights by governments within the Western Hemisphere. They can't prosecute, but a finding of guilt there gives us leverage to keep going higher up the food chain, and we're not going to stop until we actually get the U.S. government officials involved in this, both from the Biden and the Trump officials, to be prosecuted. And so that's something we can all do. We can organize for that. We would encourage your viewers to learn more about this and go to our, of course, our website, taxpayersagainstgenocide.org, sign up. But the more we put that pressure, it's going to be a fight that's not going to be over tomorrow, but it is a fight that has to happen.
Hadil, do you think people are organizing better now? I mean, I'm in Chicago. There used to be rallies, and almost every day some type of action is taking place, either calling phone calls, meeting, demonstrating in front of elected representative and all of that. I see all has slowed down. People have given up. Are we becoming cynical? Is it a good thing to do, or my observation is wrong and people are still active?
I mean, from what I see here in New York, through or some organization, they're still going hard. There's people whose hearts have been set on this from day one. I can't take it away from them. I think our community should step up, honestly, more. I don't know if that's the mind that people come from from back home. I'm scared to speak against the government, or I'm scared, but we are practicing our American rights. We are American. We hold the American passport. We have so much right over here that we're not using. We're using it for dunya stuff, but we're really neglecting one of the basic thing, like what Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said: "Man ra'a minkum munkaran فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان." We're all, I'm going to translate it to you, Seth. Basically, whoever sees evil should change it with their hand, and if they don't, then they change it with their tongue, and if not, then with their heart. And that this is the weakest type of faith. We're always resorting to that. Oh, in my heart, what can I do? What can I this? No, there's a lot that we can do. And
you do agree that the Muslim community at this moment is missing in action?
Yes, very much. We go to protests. We go, like we spoke a couple of weeks ago, and I was heartbroken that I was looking around. I was very happy with everybody who showed up, don't get me wrong, but I felt like if we back them up, then things would even sound better, would be better. But when we are trying to just fight for a seat on the table so people can accept us, I think this is hurting us more than anything else. It's okay, we're different. جاء الدين غريبا وسيعود غريبا وطوبى للغرباء. We're strangers, so we have to stick, with each other. We have to, because People are thinking, oh, well, it's not happening into my country. It's not happening to me. It's not happening. It's a matter of time that everything will roll up to everyone's backyard, even for us. Backing up Seth, and Tag and all these organizations that are trying, but everyone is just scared to speak, and I just don't know why. I mean, there's great people here that they're doing amazing things, but I think our community is just lacking that, that force.
Seth, you keep referring to Nuremberg Principle. Does that principle codified in any Geneva Convention or any of the treaties? It is legally binding, or it's a moral principle?
Yeah, it is. It's codified in what you've mentioned earlier, the UN Convention for the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, which the U.S. government took 40 years of delaying before it actually ratified it in 1988. And even though when the U.S. ratified it, it did so with exemptions, because the U.S. government has a consistent pattern of either not signing on to international treaties or subverting them, just like the Israeli government. But when it signed on to the convention and ratified it in 1988, it did not exempt itself from Article 3 of the convention, which embodies one of the Nuremberg principles, which is it's a prohibition on being complicit in genocide. And so it is illegal. It's not just immoral, it's illegal internationally, what the U.S. government's doing. And it also violates, in terms of participating in the genocide in Palestine, but it also violates the U.S. Constitution, which establishes parameters for how tax dollars should be used. They should be used according to Article 1, Section 8, for the general welfare and common defense only. And there's a lot. And then here we are at home, inside the United States, with decaying healthcare, decaying access to affordable housing, decaying infrastructure. So these things are illegal when they're using our tax dollars for genocide and empire. I just wanted to add one thing onto what Hadil was just saying too, about what, in your earlier question about what more people can do. I mean, some viewers might be saying, well, that's a long-term fight with trying to get U.S. officials prosecuted, and it is. But in the immediate moment, there's very creative actions that are being developed to go beyond just standing in the streets. The Palestinian Youth Movement and other organizations out here in the Bay Area, I'm in the Bay Area of California, have just released a report that the Oakland civilian airport is a major hub for transporting weapons to Israel. And I think that's also coming out about JFK in New York, about other civilian ports being used. And so there's now developing actions where ordinary people, we can protest in a way that's not just on the normal street corners, but going to these ports, these airports, where these weapons are literally being shipped. And so I think there's a lot of room for creative nonviolent resistance.
So there is a room, there are people. I mean, in Italy, there has been a journalist strike in the whole country. There were demonstrations throughout the world. I haven't seen in US any major demonstration. So sort of Hadil point that people have somewhat given up, although smaller actions continue to take place. One thing is that Justice for All, a human rights organization run by Muslims, has a call. They have developed a coalition, Feed Gaza Coalition, feedgaza.net. And that coalition has about 40 plus organizations. They have singular demand, lift all limitations on supply of food and medicine to Gaza. There was a while ago, a few months ago, there was a really in the news about the starvation and all that. That is, starvation news has completely disappeared. Has the reality changed? Or somebody told our media, stop showing those images?
I think that it's still there. It's a fact. It's still there. But like you said, maybe people just laxed a little bit right now. Or, I know some people may be tapped out. They've donated as much as they can and they don't, have the means to donate more. But I sit on the board of GPAA, which is the Gaza Palestinian-American Association. And we organize a lot of these, what we call takiya. Takiya is where you feed, a group, and we send the money there, and they, and they're feeding people. We don't have enough. We don't have enough. It's the prices of vegetables or rice, or that's if you can find it. Any is just absolutely ridiculous. So we're trying, for example, but yes, the limelight have been dimmed over the starvation. So people can continue doing what they're doing. And we see it in our media.
Mhm.
Seth, what do you think about media? Is media is playing some dirty game here?
Most definitely. I really appreciate the questions about like what or the theme, what more can we do to activate people inside of the US, which is, that's the paradox. This is what's driving it, and yet the population here to a large extent is not activated. And a huge part of that narcotic is the corporate media. It's clear that not just in this current situation with the genocide in Palestine, but for a long time, the media manufactures consent. There's a close relationship between the government and the big corporations that own the mainstream media. So that makes programs like what we're on this morning, what you're doing, so vital. People have to not only access the information, which of course people are aware through 1,000 different ways on social media about the horrors happening in Gaza, but they also have to see through the media. They have to get through the cynicism that's been imposed on us.
Not
and
only
we can actually have an impact.
Yeah, Israel has killed 200 plus journalists. I mean, they don't want news out. Today there was a news that BBC and Reuters, Associated Press, and AFP has requested access to Gaza. I don't think they will get an access to Gaza. 2.5 years they have been blocking media. So I think absence of information. Social media was more active, but almost all population has moved multiple times and access to internet and all that. So social media images have also slowed down because of the situation there. Well, Seth, if people want to organize with the Taxpayers Against Genocide, what can they do?
Well, the easiest way is to start by immediately going to our website, which is really easy to remember, taxpayersagainstgenocide.org. And it's got all sorts of information on there, starting with the join. And when people join, like for this current complaint that both Hadil and I are a part of, there's over 4,000 taxpayers that have signed on to join this complaint. It doesn't make you a legal party. In fact, your name is not released publicly unless you're submitting evidence. Hadil is a plaintiff. Hadil has submitted evidence to the Inter-American Commission, and so have I. Even though I'm not Palestinian, I've submitted evidence as well as a taxpayer. But for those of you, the listeners and the viewers that just joined, it just simply means that we grow our numbers, and we can let the world and we can let the commission know. Ideally, as we're going to be filing over the next several weeks this historic complaint. We'd like to say we have 10,000 people calling for the U.S. to be held account. And then the website is also a way to learn about our other actions, like when we engage in protests around the country, around the ports, things like that we feel are more strategic. It's a great way to stay involved with us, and we would really encourage folks to do so.
Hadil, is there a way to connect with your organization?
With GPAA, yes, you can go on our website and visit it, gpaa.com. We'll also on social media, we show the projects that we've been putting out. And remember, GPAA is done from it's the only Ghazawi organization in the United States that is run on the ground also by, our people, our families. So it's and nobody makes, none of us is making money on the board. No one that's down there is also. So it's all volunteer based from everyone that's involved in it.
Well, thank you both. Hadil El Wahidy, and who is a Palestinian-American leaders from Gaza, helping Gaza, and who have lost 100 family members. And Seth Donnelly, co-founder of Taxpayers Against Genocide. You're watching Muslim Net TV, and this is Malik Mujahid. Thank you, and stay tuned for other programs.